We're going to talk about sitting in a car and a lot of little simple things that you can do that will make your body feel much better, especially if you're going to be in the car for long periods of time. So first thing we want to talk about is what is happening as far as side to side. So if I happen to get into the car and I'm sitting a little bit crooked, that's going to shift my pelvis. So make sure that you're in the center of your seat with your back or pelvis all the way pushed back into the seat. That makes a big difference just to start out where you're level, because again, if I'm shifted to one side, that's automatically going to put me out of balance. Second thing I want you to think about is what is happening at the feet. So we have a part in our car that I feel like most of us don't really pay attention to. That part right there is for your foot. The reason why that is there, so that when your foot is on the accelerator, you are now balanced. Versus if I have one foot back here, obviously my knee is going to be up, that knee is going to be down, and that is going to shift my pelvis. So important to keep the foot down. That way my pelvis is level here. Another thing to think about when you are actually moving your foot back and forth from like accelerator to the brake is that when you lift a leg, your core and pelvis have to stabilize. If I'm not really paying attention, when I lift my right leg, my left pelvis will actually shift forward a little bit. I'm gonna kind of exaggerate, but basically it'll kind of pull me this way. So for those of you that have issues with your back or your hip, this might make a really big difference. Actually, I've seen this multiple times. Had a patient years ago that had a really severe back injury from a car wreck. And that's one thing she struggled with, was actually like being able to lift her leg to, go back and forth between the brake and accelerator when she was in the car. So we worked on stabilizing the core just a little bit when she shifted back and forth. Also had a gentleman that we need to work on some strength of his hip, because he had some chronic hip things. So it might make a really, really big difference just to simply tighten that core a little bit when you are shifting back and forth. So something to try. Now, moving upwards, let's think about how you're sitting as far as the trunk portion. When you sit like this, I'm all kinds of crooked, right? Like I am going to be fairly level in the lumbar spine, but then my upper portions of my spine are going to be really crooked. Doesn't matter which side I'm shifted to. And again, it's okay, especially in the car for a while, to do some shifting around. Sometimes I will do that. Sometimes I'll even sit forward like this for a bit if I'm on a really long car ride, because, you do need to shift things up sometimes and give your body a break. But the more neutral we can be, the better, especially if you're having some problems occurring currently. So yes, does it make sense for us to sort of be at the 10 and 2? It does, especially if you can stay relaxed with the shoulders. If you are so far back that you can't relax in your shoulders, that's not where you should be. Then you might want to think about you actually need to be slightly closer to where this can all be relaxed. And thinking about the upper portions and your head, there is a headrest for a reason. Now, I even struggle with keeping my head back on the headrest at all times. When I get to a stoplight, I'll usually rest my head back. That way I can just kind of relax for a moment. But I feel like when I'm driving, I need to be forward. I could be more watchful, which I can't. Like being back here, it is a little harder to turn your head and be as careful as you're driving. So I definitely understand not wanting to be back here the whole time, but take some opportunity again, especially if you're on a long drive, like on the interstate or something like that. It's a great opportunity to just kind of relax your head back here and let everything go, because if you're staying tense here, that's going to eventually get to your neck. So nice and relaxed. The last thing I want to talk about is making sure that the seat is in the right position as far as allowing your low back to be relaxed and not to push forward. I'm not a fan, and I've mentioned in some other videos, I'm not a fan of lumbar support, especially those big like rolls, those lumbar rolls, because all it's doing is putting you in this position. That's not a normal position for all of us ever. If you can have your lumbar support where you feel like you can relax into it and you have the seat behind your back, that's really all you need for lumbar support. It does not need to be putting you in this corrected position that I personally think is not even a corrected position. It's exaggerated and it's not really good for your back. So just having some support there, and then being able to put the upper portion or your thoracic spine back as well. So if I try to put my thoracic spine back and my lumbar is pushed out here, that's not where we need to be either. So having the support of the low back and the upper back and then the head, being able to relax here. Sometimes I even just have my hand here. Luckily, on long drives with my Tesla, I just have to have my hand on the wheel because it does stay in the lane. I can just rest here, which is really nice because I can stay nice and comfortable and relaxed. So always going back to what I coach all the time is being aware of the tension. As you're driving, note where your tension is. Are you tense in your neck? Maybe because you've had a car wreck. I struggled for a long time. I was shocked that PTSD after a car wreck was a thing, but for me it was. And I just stayed really tense all the time. So notice if you're tense. Is it just because of you're just not relaxing into the seat and all the things we just talked about? Or it could be some emotional, somatic components coming into play there. Regardless, notice the tension and let it go. Just if I'm tense in my low back, let it go. If I'm holding my neck out here, let it go. And noticing those things can make a huge difference in how you feel.